Hey, welcome back to Beat the Real Estate Exam with Janis Benstock. That's me, your instructor extraordinaire who curses sometimes. And I'm here to help you beat the real estate exam. So make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any videos. And when you're really ready to pass the exam, head over to passwithjanis.com. I have tons of resources to help you get over that test. I have flashcards, practice tests, audio, video recordings, all kinds of things, everything you need to help you pass. Today, we're going to talk about the protected class of disability and what it means under fair housing regarding assistance animals, service animals, and therapy animals. So let's dive in. One of the protected classes under the Federal Fair Housing Act is disability, and this is the protected class that we're going to talk about today. Disability protects people with disabilities in many ways, shape, and form, but today we're specifically going to talk about assistance animals and what the law says regarding them under the federal law. What I want you to remember about fair housing is the purpose of fair housing is so that people can live where they choose so long as they can afford it. And when it comes to people with disabilities, it also extends to letting them have the full use and enjoyment of a dwelling, because sometimes people with disabilities need special accommodations in order to have the full use and enjoyment of a dwelling. And this is what the law requires us to do. So under the Fair Housing Act, a disability is defined as a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities, or having a record of such an impairment, or being regarded as having one. This includes conditions like blindness, mental illness, or learning disabilities, but excludes those with current illegal drug use, though those in recovery are protected. So what I want you to remember from this for the exam is that under disability, people that are current illegal drug users are not protected under this act. However, people that are in recovery are, and that's under the protected class of disability. That's an important distinction that will show up on your exam. Now let's talk about assistance animals. Assistance animals are a protection under the Fair Housing Act, but it's very important to understand the differences, and they may show up on the test. The first category of assistance animal is called a service animal, and a service animal is defined as an animal who helps a person perform a task. It could be pulling their wheelchair, it could be grabbing objects for them, it could be alerting them that they're going to have a seizure, any kind of task that it's helping the person with the disability perform. It also has to be trained. It has to be able to help this person with the task that it's assigned to do. It has to have an identifiable relationship with the person, and service animals are limited to dogs and miniature horses. And before you flip shit on me about miniature horses, this is what they look like. They are bigger than dogs, but the reason why miniature horses are included in the law is because they have a longer life expectancy than dogs, up to about 25 years, and they're hypoallergenic. So when someone comes into your building and wants to see a unit in the building and it's a pet-free building and they have a dog or a miniature horse, you say to them, "Oh yeah, let me show you the apartment. I would love to show it to you. However, this is a pet-free building." And then they say, "Oh, it's not a pet, it's a service animal." And then you say, "What task does the animal perform?" The only thing you can ask is, "What task does the animal perform?" You are not allowed to ask for medical records. You're not allowed to ask for paperwork because there is none, nor is there any kind of registry where the service animal is listed. And if the disability is obvious, you are not allowed to ask anything. So if Stevie Wonder comes in with a dog, shut up. There's no need, and you're not allowed to. The law prohibits it. ESAs, emotional support animals, are something different than service animals. ESAs can be any animal. And when I say any animal, any animal, any animal. This animal provides emotional support to the person with a disability, and they have an identifiable relationship with the person with the disability. When someone comes into your building and says, "I want to see a unit," you say, "Yeah, no problem, but it's a no pet building," because they have a dog or any other kind of animal with them. And they say, "It's not a pet, it's an ESA." You say, "Okay, can I just please have documentation from your healthcare provider that the ESA is necessary?" Full stop. That's all you're allowed to ask for. There's no registry. You're not allowed to ask what's wrong with you. Can I talk to your doctor? Do you have medical records? Why do you need it? What happened? Nothing except for documentation from a healthcare provider that the ESA is necessary. Full stop. The last category is called a therapy animal. A therapy animal is different than service animals or assistance animals. A therapy animal is an animal who gives comfort to others. So the person with the animal may not have a disability. Think about a dog that goes into burn units or children's hospitals or old age homes and gives comfort to other people. That's a therapy animal. So the person, the trainer, the owner, the handler of the therapy animal isn't the one with the disability. They're just the trainer, the handler, the owner. So they don't necessarily have an identifiable relationship. They can have a relationship because it's their dog or their animal and they take care of it, but the relationship for help and therapy is not to the owner, it's to the third party, the other people that they're going to serve. And therefore, therapy animals are not protected unless it also happens to be an assistance animal. When it comes to assistance animals, there are some unbreakable rules, and it's important that you understand what they are. The first one is don't call them pets because they're not. They're not called pets, they're called assistance animals. That means you can't charge a pet fee. In a normal rental, if pets are allowed, you're absolutely allowed to charge a pet fee. But if it's an assistance animal, you are not because it's not considered a pet. That means no pet deposit. And it also means you don't get a choice. You, the agent, or you, the landlord, don't get a choice. You absolutely must allow them because they are protected under the federal fair housing, under the protected class of disability. Now, there are a few exceptions, and I put maybe in there because you'll need to check with your broker or check with counsel to make sure that you are acting properly in these situations, but it's just something to think about. And they are dueling disabilities. Dueling disabilities means one person on the floor has really bad allergies where if you bring a dog even near them, they're going to go into shock and they're going to need an EpiPen and it's going to be bad and hospitalized and asthma and all the things. That's an example of dueling disabilities. So in that case, if you have someone that needs an assistance animal and someone that is deathly allergic, what do? And the answer is it's not that easy, but you have to try and work out some sort of solution, which could mean moving someone to a different floor or a different building or a different wing, or letting someone out of their lease early if you can't find a solution or you can't move anyone, letting them terminate without any kind of penalty. The next one is animals that break the rules. Now, you can't start off by saying, this animal is a violent breed, or this animal sheds too much, or this barks a lot, and not let the animal move in because the animal is part of the person, because it's a necessary accommodation for the person with the disability. However, once the animal moves in, just like any tenant or any occupant, if they break the rules, they're going to have to be reprimanded and potentially evicted. However, in the case of protected class of disability, I caution every single one of you out there, landlords, property owners, real estate agents, to be extremely careful when going to evict someone for an assistance animal that breaks the rules before you try and come up with a solution. The burden of the law is on the landlord to make reasonable accommodations for the person with a disability. What's important to also know for the exam and for your business is that your state laws may differ from the federal law. The federal law always kicks in and takes precedence unless the state law offers more protections. So it's important that you know the federal law for the national test and the state law for your state test. That wraps up our subject today on assistance animals, and I hope this helped. Let me know in the comments if you learned anything or you have any questions, and make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss anything. If you are really serious about passing the exam, head over to passwithjanis.com for flashcards, videos, audio recordings, practice tests, and everything you need to pass the exam. I'll see you in the next one.